know about you, but one of my favorite things to do is to watch Scott Bessent go toe-to-toe with the liberal media, especially on one of these Sunday shows. He is doing an amazing job as Secretary of Treasury. His advice, his counsel, his judgment is highly regarded by the President and by ours. Please welcome to the stage the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent. Thanks, Scott. Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Secretary, we had our good mutual friend Dave McCormick here a little earlier, who was once head of one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and
also an Undersecretary of Treasury.
That's right. Good point. And you, as I said, had a very distinguished career on Wall Street. You arguably know more about what's going on with our economy than anybody else. You're watching all the data. What's your view of the economy right now? We obviously had, some energy inflation coming out of the Iran conflict. What's your overarching view of where the economy is today?
Well, I think middle of February, the president asked me, well, Scott, how do you think the economy is doing? And I said, sir, I think we're growing at 4%. I think inflation is going to be back to target in July. And President Trump is constantly calibrating. And I think he thought because we had a strong economy, because he had made us energy independent, because we were resilient, then and also we had to go in Iran because they were 2 weeks away, if they wanted, from a nuclear weapon, that we're very strong. We had this 6 weeks of fighting, 90 days total, and now I think we're coming out on the other side, and the U.S. economy has been the most resilient in the world. And the employment numbers for the past 3 months have been gangbusters against all the surveys, and gasoline is going to come back down. This is a energy-induced inflation, and we are actually lower now than we were on February 27th in crude oil markets. And I think gasoline takes a little longer to come back down, but I think we'll be right back down. And I think we actually may be lower because the world is awash in crude.
Mm-hmm. And we've done our job in that respect too, right?
We have. I tell you, I was at the Petroleum Club of Houston 3 weeks ago, and I can't tell you just the difference. Being in Texas, being in New York, I was in New York, and Petroleum Club of Houston, they say the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a prayer before the meeting, and then you get to speak. They don't do that in New York. and people are voting with their feet. People are voting with their feet. Every 2 people leave California and 1 comes to Texas, I think every minute.
And I think I saw, Mr. Secretary, that for the first time in the post-World War II era, there are now more Fortune 500 companies headquartered in Texas than in the state of California. I think I saw that.
Yeah, well, California, New York, and look, I lived in New York for a long time. I was from South Carolina. Went to school in the Northeast. Thank you, in South Carolina. Went to school in the Northeast, and then lived in New York for many years. And people say, "Do you miss New York?" And I said, "Well, I miss the New York I lived in. Like the New York I lived in, I got there." David Dinkins, who's a very nice man but not a very good mayor, was the mayor. It was kind of Calcutta without the cows. And then Rudy Giuliani, Mike Bloomberg came in, and the place was just humming. And you see how leadership matters. Bill de Blasio came in, and I didn't think there could be anyone worse than Comrade de Blasio, and now we've got it.
And we've now done it.
And now we've got it. And I've got to hand it to President Trump that I went to the meeting with Mayor Mamdani, and President Trump looked at him, and this was after he'd won, so December, and he looked at me and said, "You're the leader of the Democratic Party." So Donald Trump predicted what's going on back in December.
Right then.
And what's happened now is everyone says, well, these are extreme ideas. They're mainstream now. They are the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
I was on the phone with Senator Collins of Maine yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to comment on other candidates, but just like her temperament and the policies that it's a stark contrast.
Yes. And speaking of stark contrast, you gave a great speech this week to the New York Economic Club, which I believe you were a member of for many years. And you taught. I would commend, by the way, that speech to anybody who wants to pull it up and either read the transcript or watch the video. But you talked, Mr. Secretary, about the fact that we are no longer going to allow our economic and national security to diverge. And you went through a number of key things, including our ability to produce what we need so we're not dependent upon adversaries, either in a pandemic or at a time of a military conflict. You talked about supply chains. Would you kind of give a synopsis of that speech and talk about how it drives Trump's economic policy?
Sure. And whenever it may happen to some people in this group, whenever you're kind of called spontaneously and asked to give the prayer, I always have a fallback, and I always talk about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Like, we're grateful for yesterday, here we are today, and what do we want for tomorrow? So yesterday, at the end of World War II, it was good for U.S. national policy to rebuild our allies in Europe, to make sure that communism did not flourish, and it gave us the greatest economy in the world, and we tolerated a lot from that. We were willing to, because we were growing so much faster than the rest of the world. We were concerned about the Soviet Union, and we let that way of doing business go for too long. Mm-hmm. We had the China shock in early 2000s that gutted our manufacturing sector, and we created, we brought down the Iron Curtain, and it was almost like we needed another worthy adversary, but we let China come right up behind us. We've got a $30 trillion economy. They've now got a $20 trillion economy, and that's up 20 or 40x. Mm-hmm. And but the other thing that's happened, and I've said it many times, the only good thing about COVID was it was a dry run for if we were to get into a conflict with a major power, that we can't defend ourselves anymore. It was a wake-up call, and I don't understand why the Biden administration didn't do anything, because there were a couple of very smart people in there. And,
there were?
Well, a couple.
Do you have any names?
A couple is two. And look, we've had more cabinet meetings in a year than they did all 4 years. So yeah. It was kind of vanilla chocolate was the decision President Biden made. But we we let our national interests get away from us, and in this era of free trade, we decided. Mike Pence and I think Vice President Pence is a patriot, but he was describing like the old world of unfettered free trade, where our manufacturing base left, the middle part of the country got hollowed out. And I just said, Mr. Vice President, we can't tell people, let them eat flat screens. I think people would rather have their communities back, they would rather have the dignity of work than the cheap gadgets. And the Wall Street Journal took a shot at me. They called me an Ivy League populist. And I tapped back at him and I said, well, that's why you're called the Wall Street Journal, not the Main Street Journal. I mean, it is. And Main Street suffered. At the Economic Club, someone asked me, what would you like for your legacy to be? What do you think the president's legacy will be for his second administration? And I said, parallel prosperity. Wall Street always does great, but it's Main Street's turn to catch up, and Main Street came back. It was, look, we have spent a lot of time at Treasury with our small and community banks. Elizabeth Warren is always, oh, well, I'm afraid of a bank going under. Well, it's Senator, you put 45% of the small banks in America under. The financial regulations from 2008, 2009, it was too big to fail, but they became too small to succeed.
Yeah.
And our Main Street and small banks, they finance small business, they finance agriculture, they finance the real estate, community real estate loans, and we're trying to bring those back. So it's again, stock market can do great, but it is time for Main Street to do better.
Now, as you know, we're celebrating this week the one-year anniversary of the signing of the Working Families Tax Cut. We brought the corporate rates down. We accelerated depreciation for investment. We have the Trump accounts, expansion of the child tax credit, standard deduction, no tax on tips, reduced taxes on Social Security benefits and for seniors. It's now been in place for a year. What impact is that having on working families, on small businesses, on job creation, and on the larger economy?
Look, I think there's something here for everyone too, and there are also the private education funding too.
Yes, school choice.
School choice, and blue states aren't taking it because the teachers' unions have the dagger up to their throat, and this is crazy because when you alluded to, I have a little fun when I go for my congressional hearings, and there's one very impassioned congresswoman who said, well, this could be used for a racist private school or this, and I said, your state's not taking it, and it doesn't have to be used for a school. It could be, if you're in a blue state and your child's in public school, you can use it for tutoring, you can use it for special needs children, you can use it for school trips, but they don't want it. I mean, it's unbelievable, but I think...
Has any blue state, other than Kathy Hochul in New York, agreed to take these funds?
New York and Colorado have said they're going to do it, but they haven't done it.
They haven't done it.
They haven't done it. So, and remember, I think the governor of Colorado is like one of the 20 potential Democratic presidential candidates. So I think that the one big beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, that was this incredible barbell. Because it's, as you said, on one side, it had the very efficient things for business, automatic, 100% expensing, permanent. So it's permanent. We're never going to have to. What I love about the Working Families Tax Cut, everything's permanent.
Explain that, because a lot of people don't understand that there was a 10-year sunset on the first Trump tax cut.
On a lot of provisions, and that a lot of things, like the full expensing, whether you're a big business or a small business, that you were able to, for the first few years, you could expense, if you bought a MacBook for your business, if you bought filing cabinets, you could, if you were a big company and built a new assembly line, it was 100% immediate deductibility. And when I go out, I was in the Winnebago plant in Minnesota, and they said, because we could do the immediate expensing, we decided to build a battery factory in Florida. It made it worth it. So we're seeing a CapEx boom with 17% pickup in CapEx, and I think that's a combination of the tariff policy and the tax policy. So you've got this very pro-business policy over here. I was in my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina, and Boeing has their second location there, and they're doing a 50% expansion for the Dreamliners. So that is 3,000 construction jobs that are going to turn into 1,000 great high-paying factory jobs. Then on the other side, you have the president's signature policies, and not everybody on our side of the aisle was in favor of all of these. Well, we don't know if it's good economic policy, but the president knew that it was great for the American workers. And I'm also the acting head of the IRS, so I could see the forms. 44% of the tax returns we got had one of the president's signature policies on it. So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The 85% of our seniors did not pay taxes on Social Security. And the deductibility on the interest of auto loans for American-made cars. And I went with the president to Las Vegas on tax day on April 15th, and he likes to do spontaneous surveys of the audience. And he went through with all four of the provisions, and I would have thought that Las Vegas would have been the tip capital of the world. And he went through, okay, no tax on tips, no tax. It was no tax on overtime, was by far the biggest. And
that was bigger than tips.
Bigger than tips. And I was out in the Reagan Library about 5 weeks ago in Simi Valley, California. I did a roundtable with small business, and I'm sure we got a lot of small business owners here. And they said, our employees love no tax on overtime because, and it's the American way. You want to work harder, you keep more of it.
Right.
But the employers love it because then they have great employees who want to work more.
Yeah. So, well, as you know, and I'm going to be at an event at the Treasury Department this week celebrating, the
with Art Laffer.
With Art Laffer.
And Steve Moore.
And Art Laffer.
Art's great. Art's the original Reagan-era souvenir.
Yes. And he says that if you want to see a growing economy, you don't tax people who work, and you don't pay people not to work. And I think you and President Trump have got both of those right, and the future is very bright because of it.
I can tell you that President Trump, we've never had this many Americans working as we have under President Trump.
Yeah, and the best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come.
And you know this, we strongly supported you for secretary.
Oh, I know.
You are doing a phenomenal job. The president is lucky to have you. He values your counsel. And Scott, on behalf of all of our members, I want to thank you for what you're doing for the working men and women of this country. Let's thank Scott Bessent for coming one more time. Thank you so much. What a treat it is to welcome back to our podium. He was here a year ago. It's been one of the greatest privileges of my career to get to know this man on a personal level. You don't often get somebody who's third in line to the presidency who came out of our movement. But he began his work fighting for our values as a constitutional attorney, defending religious liberty, working with Alliance Defending Freedom and other pro-religious liberty legal organizations to fight for the rights of Christians and other people of faith to express their faith in the public square, free from discrimination and persecution. He then served in the Louisiana legislature. He was elected to Congress. And some of you will remember that rather crazy and bizarre speaker's race where there were multiple candidates, and then this man emerged. But I am here to tell you, there was an angel in the whirlwind, because he has the intelligence, he has the character, he has the principles and the understanding of our values, and he has the temperament to be a leader. I believe this is a divine appointment. God has given him favor with his colleagues, favor with the president, and favor with the American people. We are 130 days away from a midterm election, and among all the things that we must do, at the very top of the list is making sure that Mike Johnson remains Speaker of the House of Representatives. Would you please welcome the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much. It is, boy, I have to turn the mic lower than Ralph. This is, I want y'all to know I was 4 inches taller when I became Speaker of the House. They have beat me down mercilessly, but I am still fighting because we're in this together. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I am so grateful to the Faith and Freedom Coalition. I cannot tell you what an inspiration and example Ralph Reed has been for me, to me, for so many years, and I know to all of you as well. And this coalition, this group, as you know, you are the backbone of the conservative movement. I mean, we would not be in the majority right now if it were not for you. That is a true statement. That's just, I know. We all know. I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere north of 10 million doors that were knocked on for the 2024 election. We do this together. It is a grassroots effort and operation, and it could not happen without everybody in this room and your faith and your persistence and your faithfulness. Psalm 11:3 says that the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? That is not a rhetorical question for you and me. It's one we have to answer right now. And I've been more animated than usual this week because of the illustrations that we have seen of that. Right now, the foundations of America are under violent and unprecedented attack. And you know that that is true. And so while we assemble every year, I think this is the 17th Road to the Majority event. It's amazing. Thank you for being a part of it, because it's never been more important than it is right this moment, okay? Look, we know what's happened just in the last few days. Earlier this week, you saw the election results in New York City and a couple of other places around the country. No, the Speaker's job is a unique one, because when I'm not here and we're not, in session voting, leading the legislative agenda, the legislative branch, the Speaker is supposed to be on the road, because the Speaker's in charge of the whole map. To keep the majority, you're the leader of the party and the major fundraiser for the legislative branch, and you got to get out and travel. So I go all around the country, and I go to the blue states and the swing districts, and just endlessly traveling. And I have been seeing this for a long time, and I've been saying for a long time, this midterm is going to be unlike any in history. There is a dangerous trend going on in the country right now. And the best way to describe what I've seen is, I've said there's just little mini Mamdanis popping up all around the country running for Congress. Now, I started saying this many months ago, and they're like, no, that's not. Yes, well, you just saw it. And we cannot look the other way. You cannot take this for granted. It's a serious threat, my friends. Some of the most radical people who have ever run for office are on the ballot in the fall, and they're running for Congress, so many of these. And I brought you a little greatest hits list here, just a sample of some of the people who will very likely be joining the 120th Congress in January, because they're winning these blue state primaries. Let me tell you something. The danger that we have right now is that the energy, the excitement, the grassroots operation, the money is on the side of the insurgent left, and they are openly running as Marxist communists for Congress. When Ronald Reagan was in this very building, decades ago, he talked about the threat of communism. He was referencing something happening as a threat overseas. It's now on our own shores, in our own homeland. Listen to some of these examples. This is candidate Wang in California, refuses to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Hamaway in New Jersey has ties to Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations. Chevalier in New York, she's becoming famous. That was one of Mamdani's endorsees. She wants to abolish the border and all police. Mendoza of Arizona wants to decriminalize trans prostitution. You didn't know that was a thing? James in Iowa wants to apologize for being white. Miss Garriott in Iowa performed a Satanist wedding. These are congressional candidates. Bennett, New Jersey, stopped going to church, quote, because Trump voters were there, okay? The insurgent left is taking over. Now, listen, I don't know if you've seen this, and if anybody shared it from the podium, and if they have, forgive me for repeating it. But the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, it sounds so innocuous, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Don't say that. This is their platform. Listen, this is actually quotes from their platform that they published, I think, about a day or two ago. You can find this on the internet. Okay, here's just a sample of what they're about. They put this on paper. They're saying the quiet things out loud. Abolish the Electoral College, replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy. Expand the House of Representatives, implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections. Establish public ownership of the largest corporations and essential industries to ensure democratic control and accountability to the people. Abolish ICE and grant amnesty for all. End sanctions on Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. Free Palestine. Quote, for a free Palestine with Jerusalem as its capital. End all military and economic aid to Israel. Prosecute U.S. and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza. Abolish the carceral state. Quote, redirect police and prison funding to public services as steps towards abolishing the carceral forces of the capitalist state. Y'all, it goes on and on and on. Defund the Department of War. Replace the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen and subordinate to Congress, which they're hoping to take over. And the last one is abolish the Senate. Now, some of you may agree with that, but don't, just leave that one there. Okay. It's fine. I'm kidding. I love my colleagues over there. There's a new Gallup and NBC poll. Came out, I think, 4 days ago. Listen to this. Only 29% of Democrat voters now say they are proud to be American. Over half now say they want to live in another country. Yeah, go. We can't deport that many. So let me tell you, this is a very sobering, let's see how much time I have. Oh dear, 3 minutes. Okay, look. I am very bullish about the midterms. Let me just tell you right now, as a leader of this little army in the House, we are ready for this fight. We're ready for this fight. We're called for it. My friends, I have a very boring 90-minute slideshow that I could go through with you right now. All the reasons we're going to win. We are going to defy history. It is true. We have to defy history. Only twice in 90 years has the sitting president picked up seats for his party in that first 2-year cycle. But this is a midterm unlike any other, not only because of the threats that we face that are very real and must be confronted, but it's because of a lot of reasons on paper why we should win. We have a great record to run on. You just heard our extraordinary Treasury Secretary recount some of the big wins that we've done. I could do this with you all day, talking about the 700 bills we passed through the House, the 100 executive orders we've codified, and all the great things we've done for hardworking American families, and pro-family policies and pro-life policies, and we're fulfilling our promises. We have better candidates than the Democrats do. They are on the verge of an open civil war because the establishment Democrats are being pushed out by the Marxists. They're having a lot of disarray on their side, and that will play to our advantage in the midterms. We have, for the first time in 10 years, my friends, we have a slight fundraising advantage over the Democrats. That never happens. People are so motivated, and we have the President of the United States running like it's 2024, okay? He's going to tell you that himself here in a few minutes. He's going to tell you. He's out doing campaigns and rallies, and he's going to look right into the eyes of the camera and say, I am on the ballot, because in a real sense he is. If we were to lose the midterms, heaven forbid, these Democrats, y'all, impeachment's not even the big concern. They will turn every committee of Congress into an investigative body, and they'll go after the president's family, the cabinet, his donors and friends. Half of you in this room will be targeted. I run the protection program. I'll take care of you, okay? We're going to win. We're going to win the midterm, okay? All right? I'll leave you with this thought. Oh, dear, a minute. Okay, I'll leave you with this thought. We have been portraying this. Newt Gingrich gave us the idea. He has a way of crystallizing things so well. He said, Mike, this midterm, think of it like this. This midterm is not a contract with America year. You guys did that in 2024, and you have fulfilled those promises. You delivered for the people. This is not a contract with America year. This is a contrast for America year. And the contrast is between common sense and crazy, okay? And they give us new illustrations every day now of crazy. We don't have to make it up. I'm going to tell you that we're called to be faithful. I did a little tour a couple weeks ago. I'll end with this. We had faith influencers. A big group of them came to the Capitol, and among them was Frank Turek, a dear friend, and many others that you would know. Is Frank here? He could be here. But he took a clip of what I was sharing with them on Statuary Hall floor, and it's gotten a lot of attention. And I want to share this with you because it's so encouraging to me. People say to me all the time, I know you're a man of faith. I know you pray. Why are you don't ever seem to be riled up by that? I mean, you don't get nervous. People run around with their hair on fire all the time, and you seem to be always calm. How do you do that? So it's a matter of faith. It really is. And I said, I draw great inspiration from what the founders said and did and wrote and how they believed and walked out their faith in public and how they hoped and expected and prayed that future leaders would do the same. And I'm apt to quote John Quincy Adams. So I was doing a tour, and I'd love to bring you all on a tour sometime if we ever had time. I'd take you through the original House chamber, which is now Statuary Hall. There's a gold plate on the floor where John Quincy Adams once sat as he served in the House. You probably know the story of John Quincy Adams. He was our 6th president, John Adams' son. After he was president, he ran for the House of Representatives. No one's ever done it since, because why would you? But he had a mission. He ran for Congress because he was determined. He had a deep conviction from God that slavery was wrong, and he wanted to end it in the United States. This is the mid-1800s. Sadly, the nation was not yet ready to do that, but he brought the resolution over and over and over to end it. And on about the 13th or 14th failed attempt, famously, someone came up to him and they said, Mr. President, why are you doing it? It's going to fail again. Very simply, he said, duty is ours, results are God's. Very liberating way to live. But I'm out of time. Let me just share with you what I think is even more inspirational than that. The continuance of the story that I shared on the floor and that they're sharing around, I want to share with you. John Quincy Adams was sitting on the floor, and he failed in that attempt. And after the Mexican-American War, we were expanding the country westward, and there was a move to install slavery out west. So John Quincy Adams, they called him the old man eloquent. He was 80 years old, and he was standing on the House floor arguing with passion and conviction and clarity from Scripture why we should not do that. And he fell, had a stroke, and he fell on the floor, where the gold plate is now, the brass plate. They picked him up, and they took him into what is now the women's reading room. It used to be the speaker's room, and they laid him on a couch. He fell into a coma, and he died there 2 days later. That couch is still there, by the way. If you come late at night, I'll show you. It's reupholstered, but it's still there. So he passes out, and he passes away 2 days later. Now, here's the coolest thing, and I'll end with this. 6 pallbearers carried his casket a few days later. Among them was a young congressman from Illinois named Abraham Lincoln. Now, listen, okay. The 6th president was not able to eradicate slavery, but his deep moral conviction and his inspiration inspired young Abraham Lincoln, who went on to become the 16th president and finish the job. The moral of this story is what I wanted to share with this audience in particular, because you're faithful and you're out there and you're engaged and you're doing the job. All we're called to do is be faithful. We do not know when the results of that will bear fruit. We don't know for sure. We can't know for certain. But we do know if we are faithful, God will use it. And so we are called to do our duty, and the results are up to Him. He's not done with America yet, my friends. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thanks for what you're doing. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage speaker, author, former Secret Service agent, and 9/11 World Trade Center survivor, Darren Kinder.
All right, good morning, good afternoon. Faith and freedom. I love this crowd. I love this crowd. Faith and freedom, two of my favorite things, something I have put myself on the line for both, and will do so again if called upon. My name is Darren Kinder, and like that message just said, I'm a former Secret Service agent for 25 years. I have witnessed history, seen history. I have traveled to 43 different countries, protected 5 U.S. presidents while in office. I have hunted and chased al-Qaeda cells across Western Europe. But more important than all of that, I'm a faithful husband, devoted father, and a fierce follower of Jesus Christ. I'm also a survivor. I'm a survivor of the terrorist attack in the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. And what I want to do today is share just a couple of moments, a couple of scenes from that day and illustrate some much bigger points. But I'm also, I'll be honest, faith and freedom, I'm a child of the 80s. Come on. Unfortunately, when I grew up, the center of my house was not Jesus at the time. It was Reagan. We were raised on Reagan, right? My holy trinity was Top Gun, Rocky IV, and Red Dawn. I used to go to bed at night dreaming about killing Russians in the mountains. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that's holy. I'm just saying that that's true. But we had this sense of American exceptionalism, this optimism that was unstoppable. It's the air that I breathe, the water that I drank in my family. I had a front row seat to service. My mother was a nurse. My father worked for an agency that helped the blind. My brother, the real cop in the family, was a law enforcement officer for 27 years. But what I want to do, I'm also a patriot, but what I want to do is unpack, what does it mean this morning? What does it mean to serve your nation, but also serve your Lord? Because that's the contention that we have to wrestle here with this morning. What does it mean to be a good citizen, knowing that this is not our home, knowing that I'm ultimately a citizen of heaven? Well, let's get our terms straight first, shall we? When I say citizens, I am not talking about civilians. There's a difference. I have a feeling, we'll find out, I have a feeling that people in this room are citizens of this great republic. You see, a civilian is obsessed with self, inward focused, focused on their own safety, focused on their own comfort. A civilian consumes, takes, rarely gives. Civilians see people and circumstances as a means to an end, but not citizens. Citizens are different. They build. Citizens invest. They cultivate. They grow societies from the ground up. They spend their time, resources, and talents on things that matter. They cultivate and build a society. They draw benefits along the way because they put their own deposits in rightly as they went. They have two focuses: inward focus on the family and outward on their community. That's a citizen. Teddy Roosevelt once famously said, "A citizen has the will to work and a willingness to fight the righteous fight." Yes. Well, let me tell you, on September 11, 2001, I witnessed both, civilians and citizens. When we first evacuated, our office was in 7 World Trade Center. When we first evacuated, a group that I belonged to, about 30 special agents, in the blink of an eye, we went to first responders. We started entering in, and civilians are running around, and there's chaos, and you would expect that. But later, a few minutes later, I find myself in the North Tower because I'm not very smart. I find myself in the North Tower. I'm in a stairwell, and there's people evacuating down. And about on the 10th floor, there was this woman. She was slumped over in the corner. She could not evacuate herself anymore. And unfortunately for her, that stairwell was full of civilians, not citizens. And so I just said, hey, to the 2 guys I was with, the 2 agents, I said, you keep going. I'll meet you later. I'm going to help her down. And I started to carry her down, and I couldn't do it myself. And so I grabbed a random dude by the collar, literally, and said, you're helping me. And once the blinders were off, that man, in an instant, went from a civilian to a citizen. And we carried her down. Later, after the first tower had collapsed, before the second tower had collapsed, it was madness, it was chaos. On September 11, 2001, I had a front row seat to evil. But I also saw the best of America. I saw people, citizens of a republic, pouring out of bodegas and convenience stores and pharmacies with medical supplies, with food, with water, not to hoard it for themselves, but to give to their fellow citizens. In all that madness, it was a thing of beauty. Citizens responding. Later, when Tower 2 collapsed, it almost killed me because I was dumb enough to go back. Citizenship is a choice. Courage is a choice. Tower 2, the second tower collapsed, almost taking my life, and I managed to escape inside the lobby of a bank. I met up with 3 other Secret Service agents there, randomly. And we decided we were going to go back. We were going to go back to the World Trade Center site again. And at that moment, we said we're going to form 2 search parties. And we asked for volunteers. And the civilians in that bank lobby looked at the top of their shoes. But a handful of citizens stepped forward. And we deployed as 2 groups out into the gloom, looking for survivors. And all we found were bodies. At that point, me and 3 other Secret Service agents commandeered this fire truck. There's this fire truck in the middle of the intersection that wasn't being used, and it was undamaged. I have no idea how. You see, because the professional firefighters were gone. 343 of them erased. And we figured out how to turn on the hose. And we got water pouring out of this fire truck. We just started putting out all the fires that were around us. And several citizens came and said, "What can I do to help?" You see what I mean? There's a difference, citizens and civilians. Later that day, at the very end, I hopped on a boat. I left Manhattan. I rowed across the Hudson River to Hoboken, New Jersey, where I lived, to reunite with my young wife. I was part of the great 9/11 boat lift, right? On that day, 500,000 people were evacuated off of Manhattan Island in 9 hours. Do the math. How is that possible? The citizens heard the call and they answered the bell. Coast Guard call went out and said, "Any boat willing to help the evacuation of Lower Manhattan, please report to Governor's Island forthwith." And 150 vessels of all kinds responded. 600 pilots, captains, sailors, citizens responded. Now there's a higher calling above citizen, I think, in my opinion, guardians. Guardians are ones who administer justice, establish order, and keep us safe. They're our first responder community. I want to honor them. It's a higher calling that not all are called to. But I know this, 422 of them died on September 11, 2001. And I saw the best of the best respond to the danger, run to the guns, and they were valiant to their final breath. There's another higher calling as well, the warriors. Yeah. After 9/11, our warriors went to work. They went downrange in places like Afghanistan and Syria, Libya, Iraq, to fight the fight there so the enemy could never bring the fight back here. And I'm forever indebted to them. George Orwell once said that we sleep peacefully at night because rough men stand ready to do violence on our behalf. And that's true. Because contrary to what your mommy may have told you, sometimes violence is the answer. Why? Because evil doesn't stop when you ask nicely. Now, above that, we got citizens. We have guardians. We have warriors. But we are citizens of heaven. That's a higher calling. We are citizens of heaven. We are not, let me be clear, we are not civilians waiting for heaven. We are citizens of heaven here, right now, doing God's work. Some Christians see Jesus as just their Savior, and they spend their days just waiting for salvation. Not us, not you, not me, not today. We are citizens of heaven, right now. How can we be good citizens of our nation and also citizens of heaven at the same time? It's very easy. We fight for our nation by serving our Lord. Let me give you 3 quick ways on how we can best do that as citizens of a republic and as citizens of heaven. Number 1, It is God's will. Evangelism is the will of God for each and every believer. When the first tower collapsed on September 11th, it almost got me. I was really close. I'm running, and large chunks of debris are falling all around me. And then the lights just went out. I couldn't see, but I'm still running. Large chunks of debris falling everywhere. And then a few strides later, I'm out of the kill zone. I'm out of the kill box, and I see this strange thing out of my left eye. I see sunlight. Sunlight. And so I run across the street, and I'm looking north up a very narrow alley. At the other end of that alley is sun. And so I just turned around because all I could hear was screams and cries in the darkness. I turned around and I started yelling at the top of my lungs, follow the sound of my voice. Come this way. There is light this way. Come towards me. I will show you the light. And I say that not to elevate myself. I say that is our calling, metaphorically, as Christians in this world, as citizens of heaven. To be the man, to be the woman, standing in the alley, pointing people to the light of life. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Those who follow me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. We are a city on a hill, a light that should not be hidden. Let your light, Jesus says, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to God who is in heaven. You want to know, how do I serve and fight for my nation while serving my God? What does it look like? Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that I have commanded you. That's called being the man, being the woman, standing in the alley, pointing people to the only light that matters. Secondly, a citizen of heaven fights the battle at home. This is a house-to-house conflict. It is brutal. They are taking over our homes. They want to take over our homes and our families and our marriages. We have to fight back. We build families, and those families are built on marriage. We breathe deeply. We drink deeply from the headwaters of Genesis 1, 2, and 3. We root our families. We cultivate our families in the Word of God. God and God alone defines marriage. God and God alone defines what a family is. The Creator defines what He creates. I don't care what 9 people across town say. That's what we do. We enter in, we protect, we provide, we cultivate, we nurture, all founded on the Word of God. We craft our children like arrows in the hand of a mighty warrior are the children of one's youth. Psalm 127. Because one day I've got 4 sons. One day we're going to release them, and they're going to fly straight, and they're going to fly true, and have an impact for Jesus. That is our calling. How do you want to fight for your nation by serving your Lord? Point people to the only light that matters, and build marriages and build families centered on God who take Jesus seriously. Why? Because godly families godly marriages create godly families, and those families create godly churches, and those churches impact the community, and those communities have godly cities, and those cities create godly states, and those states create a godly nation. And that is what I'm going to spend the rest of my days doing my little part to make America faithful again. Now, one more illustration from my experience on September 11th. At the end of the day, myself and the 3 other agents I were with, we finally figured out where everyone else was relocated. We drove about 30 blocks north, and we walk into this place called Chelsea Piers. Many of you are familiar with it. And we walk in, and we are beaten and bloodied and haggard. At the end of the day, my shoes, the soles of my shoes were melted. My pants were about 3 or 4 inches shorter because they kept catching fire. And I saw a large group of people that I worked with, and they looked just like we did, man. They had answered the call. They were citizens of a republic. But I saw another group of people at that establishment, and they were different. They were clean. Their suits were clean. Their hair was shiny or nice and neat like mine. Their shoes were perfect. Courage is a choice, is it not? Being a citizen is a choice, is it not? And so the next day, I share that illustration only for this. The next day, I'm on my couch in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm praying with my young wife. And we're praying and we're trying to figure out what is the Lord going to do with us and with this event. And I couldn't get that image out of my mind, man. There were dirty suits and there were clean suits. And I made a promise to God in that prayer. I said, Lord, I'm going to spend the rest of my days. I should be dead. I'm going to spend the rest of my days getting my suit dirty to bring your name glory. And at the end of the prayer, these words just rolled off of my tongue. I said, Lord, when you call me home, when I punch out of this world and into the next, bury me in a dirty suit. I didn't know 25 years later that'd be the title of my book. Bury me in a dirty suit. So my question to you is your suit dirty? Are you ready to get your suit dirty? Because I don't want to, wouldn't it be a shame to punch out of this world in a clean suit if that was your legacy? No. You have an arena for which you have been called, each and every one of us. How do we serve and fight for our nation while serving our Lord? We choose to enter into the arena. What is your arena? We are created uniquely and perfectly with different skills, talents, and abilities for a purpose. I would encourage you to pursue it with everything you've got. What is that arena for you? I don't know. Maybe it's running for city council, getting on the school board, fundraising, knocking on doors, whatever it may be. What else could your arena be? I don't know. Child abuse, domestic violence, abortion, homelessness. Because as I travel over the country, this is what I see. It's sad to say. I see arenas that are just waiting for their gladiator to show up. But not you and I. Not today. You see, Roosevelt said, we never want to be those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Those cold and timid souls, those are clean suits. But not you and I. Not today. Not moving forward. Folks, we live in the space between. We live in the space between the resurrection of Jesus and his coming back. I've read the end. I know how it ends. But in that space between, there's ground to be won. There are foot soldiers needed for that second coming. Come, Jesus, come. Find that arena and spend the rest of your days getting after it, rolling up your sleeves and getting your suit dirty in the name of Jesus. So what does it look like? To fight for our nation and serve our country? That's what it looks like. Let me just close with this. The national anthem. I love it. You know, for the average national anthem is about 1 minute, 43 seconds. And in that 1 minute, 43 seconds, here's what I do. It's just a practice. Maybe you could adopt it. I fix my eyes on the flag and I don't let it waver. And then I pray. I thank God that he put me in this nation, in this time, in this place, on the greatest nation on earth. And then I say, Lord, what can I do to serve this nation? Show me, equip me. And then I say, Lord, what can I do to serve you and make your name glorified above and beyond as a citizen of heaven? For the good of my nation and for the glory of my God. And by the time I get to the land of the free and the home of the brave, I've got a tear in my eye and a full heart in my chest. I'm a citizen of this great republic. I'm also a citizen of heaven. My name is Darren Kinder. I live in a dirty suit. I'm fighting for my country by serving my Lord. Join me. Thank you.
hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain...
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for man.
We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Ralph Reed.
It's going to get even better. He comes out.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, performance painter, Matt Hagen.
Thank you, Matt. Wasn't that great? All right, so the president is en route in his motorcade. He will be here in a matter of minutes. And I don't think I need to remind anyone of this, but we want to make sure that this is the most enthusiastic reception that he has ever gotten. Okay? So get ready. The program will resume shortly.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let 'em say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart.
picture that with a Kodak. Or better yet, go to Times Square, take a picture of me with a Kodak. Took my life from negative to positive, I just want y'all to know that. And tonight, let's enjoy life. Pitbull, Naya, Neo, that's right.
I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow. Let's do it tonight. Let's do it tonight. Grab somebody sexy, tell them, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything.
Take advantage of the night, cause tomorrow I'm off to Dubai to perform for a princess. But tonight, I can make you my queen and make love to you endless. It's insane the way the name growing, money keep flowing. Hustlers moving silent, so I'm tiptoeing. So keep blowing, I got it locked up like Lindsay Lohan. Put it on my life, baby. I'm gonna give you a ride, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight. God. Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight. And I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And maybe I'ma make you feel so good tonight. Cause we might not get tomorrow.
I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow. Let's do it tonight. Let's do it tonight. Grab somebody sexy, tell them, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything.
Reach for the stars, and if you don't grab them, at least you fall on top of the world. Think about it, cause if you slip, I'm gonna fall on top of your girl. What I'm involved with is deeper than the Masons, baby, and it ain't no secret. My family's from Cuba, but I'm an American. I don't get money like secrets. Put it on my life, baby. I make it feel right, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight, darling. Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight. And I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And baby, I'ma make you feel so good tonight. Cause we might not get tomorrow.
I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow. Let's do it tonight. Let's do it tonight. Grab somebody sexy, tell them, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight.
And I might drink a little more than I should tonight. And I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And baby, I'ma make you feel so good tonight. Cause we might not get tomorrow.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You could beat the world, you could beat the war. You could talk to God, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You could be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you go find yourself.
Standing in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
and the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
'Cause you burn with the brightest flame.
walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be the hero, you could get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. You never gonna know if you never even try. Do it for your country, do it for your name. Cause there's gonna be a day when you're sitting in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. Cause you burn with the brightest flame. Yeah. And the world's gonna know your name. Yeah. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion. The walls of the Hall of Fame. Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Ralph Reed.
Are you guys ready? I know he's ready, but I'm going to give him a proper introduction because this man, our next speaker, is no stranger to this conference or this stage. In fact, today marks his 10th appearance at the Faith and Freedom Road to Majority Conference. He has been here as a private citizen, as a candidate, and we are pleased to welcome him back today as President of the United States. With the seal back on the podium where it belongs, amen? This is a man who alone, among all the leaders that we have had, gave us the most conservative Supreme Court in over a century. This is a man who, after decades of incompetence and criminal negligence, gave us the most secure border the United States has ever had. He signed the largest tax cut in history that is fueling the greatest economy the world has ever seen. He moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and he gave us the closest relationship and collaboration with our ally Israel that the nation has ever known. And he alone had the courage and the moral clarity to order and direct military action against Iran to make sure it will never have a nuclear weapon. They impeached him, they indicted him, they tried to imprison him, they tried to knock him off the ballot, and then they tried to kill him. And it all failed because God has a purpose for this man. And it is to save our nation. Please welcome back to this stage the 45th and the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't
there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to thank Ralph for the introduction. He's a great guy and friend of mine for a long time. And thank you to all of the true American patriots of Faith and Freedom Coalition. You've been with me from the beginning, and pretty much like nobody else, I don't think can top you. You were just great right from the beginning. You got it. You understood what we had to do, and we got it done, and we're continuing to get it done at levels that nobody's seen before. With the help of many people in this room, 18 months ago, we won the most consequential election victory in American history. Winning all 7 swing states, the Electoral College by 312 to 226, the popular vote, and 86% of all counties in America, 2,700 to 525. That's called a big victory. The Faith and Freedom Coalition was with us every step of the way. You knocked on 97 million doors. It's true. Ralph actually told me 10 million, so I had checked. It was 9.7 million. You reached 18 million voters. Think of that, voters of faith. You sent 28 million text messages and made 10 million phone calls to help us win a mandate like no other administration in modern history. It was a mandate like we have not seen before. And together we saved our country, and we saved religious freedom in America. We saved religious. It was going down. And you've always stood with me, and I will always stand with you. I'll always remember it. I'll always remember how hard you worked and your spirit. I especially want to thank Pastor Paula White, who's with us. Paula, wherever you may be. Thank you, Paula. Great person. Director of the White House Faith Office, Jenny Korn. Terrific. Jenny, thank you very much. Bishop Kevin Koberis. Where is Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Good job. Nice looking man. President of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, Pastor Sam Rodriguez, who's been with me from the beginning. This place is crowded. I remember this place not so long ago. Hopefully, we'll have a little more pleasant. We're going to have a little more pleasant experience. I remember this room very well. A friend of mine who has been just incredible, Dr. Alveda King. Doctor, thank you. Thank you, darling. She's been with me also from the beginning. So many from the beginning. You can tell so much. The ones from the beginning, I don't know, they tend to be the ones, they're the ones they stay, and they stay like nobody. And we appreciate all of those people. An ambassador to the United Nations who's doing a really great job. Mike Waltz, he's around here someplace. Mike, doing a really good job. And just over 1 week from now, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, marking 2.5 centuries of glorious American freedom. And thanks to the extraordinary work and incredible devotion of patriots like those people in this very, very crowded ballroom, today I can proudly report that on the edge of our 250th year, America is back. It's back. It's back. I believe better than ever before. And I'm especially pleased to say that, likewise, religion is back in our country, bigger and stronger than it has been in many, many years. Been reading all of those reports. Religion's really, it's going up. If that were stock, we'd be very, very rich, all of us. It's been great to watch. And as I've said before, to be a great nation, you have to have religion and you have to have God in your nation. If you don't have that, it just doesn't seem to work out, does it? And we have it. We have religion and we have God now. Remember when I first started, 2016, they wanted to take the Christmas out of Christmas. Remember that? We ended that little drive, but we ended a lot of other drives too. From the very beginning of our country, American greatness has been forged by people of faith, and the very first settlers who set foot upon this new world at Jamestown got off their ship, raised up a cross, and bowed down to the Lord in prayer. It was faith that strengthened the Minutemen and who stood up at Lexington Green and Concord Bridge in Philadelphia 250 years ago. Next week, our founders invoked the Creator 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. 4 times. I wasn't mentioned once. I'm very upset. Not once. Faith pushed the pioneers to journey west. Faith led Americans to abolish slavery, and faith built this country into the most exceptional nation in the history of the world. It was going very badly a couple of years ago, very badly, but it's back really strong. But we have to be very careful because bad things are happening. Could I watch what's happening? And we're going to be discussing that in just a minute. Americans have always deeply believed in the promise of Christ's words in the Gospel of Matthew. With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible, right? All things. That's why as we prepare to enter the 250th year last month, tens of thousands of patriots came together on our National Mall, and we officially rededicated America as one nation under God. And we're not changing. We're not changing. And we always have been, and we always will be. We're not going to let them take it away. But as we celebrate this anniversary, we must also remember that our country could have been marking this occasion under very different circumstances. The last administration carried out a reign of persecution and repression against Christians and people of faith like America has never seen before. It's terrible. They turned a nation founded on freedom for believers into a place where Catholics were targeted by the FBI, where pro-life grandmothers were put in jail for praying, and where members of our military were thrown out of the armed forces for their religious beliefs. The radicals responsible for these offenses would have loved nothing more than to mark America's 250th anniversary by driving God from our public square once and for all. They wanted to do that. I don't know how anybody could vote for these people. They were so bad, they were so evil, and yet in many ways incompetent, certainly incompetent on policy, open borders, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, just grossly incompetent ideologies, and so many more. But they did not get that chance because they lost an election in a landslide, and we won an election in a landslide. And while I am in the White House, I will defend Christians and all Americans of faith 100%. You have it 100%, and you've seen it already. So upon taking office, I created the first ever Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty, led by Texas Lieutenant Governor, a great guy. I don't know if he's here. I know he's coming over to my office in a little while, a thing called the Oval Office, beautiful office. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and my friend, Dr. Ben Carson. I don't know, so many people in this room, I don't know if they're here, they may be here, but they're two great people. And later today at the White House, they will present me with their official report and recommendations to ensure that America continues to uphold the first right in our Constitution, and that's religious liberty. We have to uphold religious liberty, most important thing. On day one of my administration, I ended the weaponization of law enforcement against religious believers. You know that. I pardoned the Christians Joe Biden threw in jail for saying prayers. He threw them in jail. You know, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. The guy's grossly incompetent. But he was surrounded by very smart, in some cases brilliant, lunatics. I got rid of the sinister Johnson Amendment so that pastors can speak the truth at their pulpits. We created the very, very popular White House Faith Office, first time that's ever happened. And I set up an official Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christianity Christian bias, is anti-Christian bias. Who would think? At a high level, too, although it's fading, going to fade fast. That task force just produced a new documentary revealing the abuses of religious freedom that they uncovered. It's called By Dawn's Early Light, and it's out right now, and it's really supposed to be, I have not seen it. I cannot tell a lie. I have not seen it, but I've heard about it, and I hear it's great, and I will see it, I hope soon. I also signed We're protecting our churches and synagogues by prosecuting mobs of radical left lunatics and agitators who try to harass and intimidate people in their places of worship not so long ago. And to help parents send their children to schools that share their values, I signed the largest expansion of school choice in the history of our country, including in Texas. And in my direction, the Department of Education issued new guidance protecting the right to prayer in public schools. That was a big thing. And these are all things that we were, they fought us very strongly, very, very strongly. Hard to believe they'd fight us on that, but we had to fight the good battle, but we won every time. We slashed federal funding for any school that pushes transgender insanity on our youth. We expanded the Mexico City policy to stop taxpayer dollars from being used to promote radical gender ideology around the world. Radical gender ideology, it is. I made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. That wasn't too tough. That was sort of an easy one, but we have a man running in Texas who thinks there are 6 genders. I don't know what. He's going to have to discuss that with us. Can you believe it? 6 genders. And we officially banned the chemical and surgical mutilization of our children. And now we have to pass the Save America Act to protect our sacred American elections. Have to pass it. Hard to believe, right? Hard to believe that we even have to fight for this. We have to fight for everything. Nothing comes easy. Nothing. All voters must show photo ID. Not so bad, right? All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Is that so hard? And you're fighting the Democrats and a few Republicans who are doing a tremendous disservice to this country. We have a few Republicans that are fighting it. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. You should call her and tell her to get on the ball. She'll never win another election, I can tell you. She's got to vote. It's called the Save America Act. It's voter ID, ideally photo ID, right? So you can look and you can say, oh, that person's okay. Or, for lots of reasons, that person is not the same person. We want proof of citizenship. And we want no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, and military deployment or travel. We'll be very judicious. Look what's happening in California where the ballots still aren't in. They're still not. Can you believe it? Weeks afterwards. You know what's happening? They're cheating. The kid won, or he was certainly in the top 2. I don't know him. I never met him. Spencer Pratt. And he went away quietly. We didn't go away quietly, but he shouldn't go away quietly. He should protest because it was, in my very strong opinion, that was a rigged election. That kid should be in the runoffs. The woman who edged him out after like a long time, days and days. And then you'd hear reports, Spencer Pratt is not doing so well, even though he was strongly in the lead. And then you hear, Spencer Pratt has a 20% chance of being in the runoff. I said, they just rigged the election. And then you hear that a woman who nobody ever heard of is in the runoff, not him. And then they tried to hurt Steve Hilton, too. And I called the U.S. attorney and I said, you have to look into this because Steve Hilton did great. He's running for governor. And you could see it. The election was there. He was doing great. Then day after day, you'd hear reports about vote counting. They go on for weeks. You know, Colombia just had an election. The country of Colombia, 30 million voters. And I endorsed. I'm endorsed. We do so well with endorsements, like almost 100% success. But I endorsed somebody running, El Tigre. El Tigre. I liked him. You know why? Because he likes me. I don't know. He used to talk about Trump. I like President Trump. I don't know. How can you not let? So I endorsed him. I didn't know. He was in way down the list. He was not going to win. No chance of winning. I endorsed him and he won. He just announced he won. But think of it. They had 30 million votes. By 9:30 in the evening, every single vote was counted. And there were no complaints. He won. Every vote was counted. Here we are in California. They're going to go for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you know what they do? They cheat. How many votes do we need? How many votes? That's why they take their time. How many votes do we need? Okay, here they are. Honestly, it's terrible. We're a third world country with elections. And we will also enshrine a permanent law that says very easily and succinctly, no men in women's sports and no transgender surgery for our children. Never forget, if the radical left ever gets the chance, they will bring all of this insanity right back at levels that you've never seen before. You will never have seen anything like it if they ever get their chance. And they're trying like hell. I call them the Democrats. I exchanged an E for a U. The Democrats. And it's trending #1, the word Democrat. I just can't believe I didn't think of it 9 years ago. I should have thought. The Democrats, they are horrible. They want to resume the transgender mutilization of our children. They want to restart the war on Christians and churches. And as you saw with the communists elected in New York City recently, they're communists, they're not social democrats. They want to completely destroy the traditional American way of life. Communism is very easy to sell. It destroys everything, but it's very easy. I'll be honest, I think I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you don't have to pay any rent. From now on, anybody wants a house, don't worry about it. Just pick the house you want. Everybody gets free food. Everything is free from this point forward. Everyone's going to vote for me. The problem is, after 2 or 3 years, the country is a disaster area. The country fails. They always do. It always does. So easy to sell. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California. But you'll start living in squalor. You'll live in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no law and order. There will be no nothing. There will be no nothing. You'll be a third world inhabitant in every way, and everyone will suffer or die. You'll suffer or die. That's what happens. For thousands of years it's been happening by different names. Thousands of years. I'm telling you, I'd be the greatest communist in history. It would be so easy. You wouldn't have to work. You could stay home. The problem is a couple of years go by, the whole place collapses. Always does. Always has. But I'm sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology. Assassination's a big deal for them. They're animals. They're animals. In many cases, they're not smart, but in some cases, they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises that they know they can't keep, and the Democrats aren't fighting back. That's why they're dumb. They're not fighting back. They're afraid. I watch Schumer. He's afraid to fight. I watch guys that are pretty normal, and guys that we oppose, they're afraid to fight. The Democrats have taken a tremendous turn left, and many of these people, I looked at some of the people that got elected the other night in New York. These are, in many ways, stupid people. In some ways, and intellectually, probably pretty smart. But they're people that want to destroy our country. They hate our country. They hate our people. They hate the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is in big trouble because this isn't stopping with New York. This is going all. It's too easy to get elected, giving everything away. Too easy to get elected. Very dangerous. But you'll soon have nothing left. That's the problem. In many ways, they're allowing them to just go their own way, do your own. We don't want to take a chance on saying anything bad because we're afraid we're going to lose our jobs if we do. They're afraid they're going to lose their election if they even think about saying anything bad about this new breed of sick people. They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight the plague that's happening. It's happening right before your very eyes. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or the way they fight me, they'd be victorious. They didn't beat us, but they'd be victorious against the communists. But they don't have the courage to do so. So they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party. These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems to be more and more throughout the world, maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't doing well. But you see the numbers, how they're growing, how the churches are filling up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, look, it happens to be during my presidency, so I don't mind taking credit for it. I'm very proud. But a lot of great things are happening. All communist countries attack religions violently. It's part of their deal. As you know, we recently struck Nigeria and largely ended the slaughter of great Christian populations. They have a great Christian population. They were being butchered. Thousands and thousands of people were being killed. Children, women, old people, just being slaughtered, hatched to death. They know that if they go further, the attack will be far greater and that they don't want to really get involved anymore so much. You know, we hit them very hard. We knocked out their leader. We knocked out their second leader and their third leader. Sounds a little bit like Iran, actually. That's all about a different cause that we have to do because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Can't let it happen. So I'm saving Christians throughout the world, even though we are not in those various countries where you read about this. But they'd like to make our country just like those countries. That's where they started. They started right where we are right now. But I'm saving them by hitting these terrorists very violently and very hard. We're hitting them very hard by the greatest weapons on earth, taking them out. We know where they are. We hunt them down and we take them out. Think of it. They go into a village and they just kill everybody. It's like crazy. They will close your churches in this country. They go communist, and they're trying to. They will kill your people, and that's what they're about. They want to end religion. They have to end religion because their ideology doesn't work if you have strong religion, people like you that are so incredible and love our country so much and love God. This is the greatest threat to our country since its founding, in my opinion, 250 years ago, what's happening right now. It's the greatest threat. People don't look at that, well, oh, 3 people were elected. No, it's many more than 3 people. And the other people are being swayed because they don't have the sense to see what's happening. They don't have the sense. Their followers are not leaders, even though they're politicians, in some cases successful ones. For the first time in history, the powerful Rent Stabilization Board, as an example, that sets rents in New York City. It just happened today. They've done it for years and years, and they've been very far left. They're run by Democrats, and they give landlords a hard time for years and years. It's called rent control. They give landlords a hard time, but they always give some increases so they can survive. But they just came out, first time ever, with a ruling, 0 rent increases for landlords, 0 for the next 2 years, despite the fact that energy, supplies, real estate taxes, and just about everything else has gone up. They're supposed to allow you to have that. 0. They're giving them none. They're basically confiscating their property. And the one representative for the landlords who's on the board, I think they have 8 or 9 people on the board, and you had one who was representing one out of like 8. But at least you had somebody. But that person walked off in disgust, walked off and got booed. Mayor Mamdani, who came to the White House and seems like a nice guy, but he said he was going to do this in his campaign. Nobody thought he was serious. He said he was going to make sure that people don't have a rent increase, even though energy went up. It's going to come down. It's coming down fast right now. I hope you're watching what's happening. We had a low number just now, $69 a barrel. That was... Some people said it was going to be 350 by now. 69, it's going to be 300, 350. Never hit those numbers at all, even in the height of it all. But what the mayor doesn't say is that these buildings will soon turn into ghettos and slums, and that everybody will continue leaving New York. And as this spreads throughout the country, very much like an uncontrollable form of cancer, the country itself will be taken down. It will be third world, strictly third world. And it's happened many times before to very big and very powerful countries. But it's not going to happen to the United States of America. No way. Because communism really is the past and freedom is the future. That's what we are. All we want is freedom. Freedom is going to be, freedom gets you everything. Everyone needs to get out and vote in the midterms. We have to win this election. This election is very vital. If we don't, everything that we've gotten so much. I mean, religious liberty, but we've gotten so much. Our military is the strongest in the world. I built it during my first term, strongest in the world. And people respect us again. They respect us maybe like never before. We were laughed at a year and a half ago. We were laughed at. And now we're the most respected nation anywhere in the world. And in our 250th year, we will make our nation stronger and safer, better, more prosperous, and more faithful. Very important, more faithful than ever before. Today, we have the largest economy on earth. We're expanding at a degree and to a degree that nobody thought possible. They never thought what we're doing for the last year and a half. It's only a year and a half. What we're doing for the last year and a half, nobody thought was possible. We have the strongest military on earth. We have the most powerful technology on earth. We're winning on AI. We're winning with automobile manufacturing. Do you see how many plants are coming back into the United States? Tariffs. If they don't come in, they have to pay massive tariffs. Make your car outside, but you have to pay massive tariffs to come in. If you build your car in the United States using U.S. workers, our great American workers, you don't have any tariffs to pay. So they're all pouring in. It should have been done years ago by other presidents. We have the greatest culture on earth, and above all, we have the greatest people on earth. We do. We have the greatest people. But think of it. I was with the king of Saudi Arabia, and he said, Mr. President, 2 years ago, your country was dead. It was a dead country. And today, you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's amazing what's happened. We were laughed at. We were laughed at. We had a man who couldn't speak, couldn't think. He didn't know what the hell was happening. Kept falling down all over the place. If he was standing here now, he would have been off the stage before he started. But if he was standing here now, he wouldn't know how to get off the stage. You had to lead him off the stage. It was a disaster, and it was a rigged election. But we did it again, and we got it right. Too big to rig. We made it too big to rig. It was a rigged election. And look what happened because it was a rigged election. 25 million people came in, many criminals, murderers, 11,808 murders, more than 50% of who created more than one murder, murdered more than one person. These are not going to be the citizens of our country. There's not a thing you can do to change that. But drug dealers at the highest level, the worst, some of the worst people on earth came in through open borders. Joe Biden's, but really it was the ideology's open border policy where everybody could come in. They came from all over the world. They emptied their prison populations into the United States of America. Think of that. But we're getting them out. We're getting them out faster than anybody can imagine. And we're going after the bad ones first. We're getting them out. Last week, we signed a historic agreement to accomplish what no president has ever been able to accomplish before, that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to let that happen. And thanks to the power and skill of the United States Armed Forces, Iran today has no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft capability, no radar, virtually no manufacturing. Their drone capacity has been cut by 82%. Their missile capacity has been cut by 80%. Their rocket launchers have been cut by 90%. Their leadership has been killed a first time, and their leadership has been killed a second time. And nobody wants to be the leader of Iran anymore. They said, who would like to be the president? And everyone said, no, thank you. It's amazing. And then the fake news, like the New York Times, which is a failing publication. But the fake news, ABC, so bad. ABC television network, fake ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. They actually said for a little while, it didn't play well, that Iran was much stronger today than it was 4 months ago. Think of it. They have no Navy. They have no... They said they're stronger. They're dying to make a deal. They're giving us a lot. They should have been done over the 47-year period that they've reigned with terror. And that's what they did. They reigned with terror. When you see a young man or woman walking around without legs or without arms or a face that was obliterated, it happened from the roadside bomb that was created, the creation of General Soleimani, who I killed in my first term, and that was a big killing. He was a mad genius, but he was going to knock out 5 of our military installations. I found out about it. And in all fairness, Israel was supposed to do it with us, and the night before that took place, we heard from Israel that they will not be doing it. They don't want to do it. And I said to a couple of generals that we had who were very good, I said, what do you think, generals? Can we do it? Because we worked on it for 30 days, worked on it with Israel. They said, we'll do it, sir. Can we do it as well? We'll do it better. And he was dead the next day. He was dead in the Valley of Death. He died in the Valley of Death. We had him all. We knew when he was coming, where he was coming, how he was getting there. We knew everything, but we lost our partner. I don't blame them that much, to be honest with you, because it's tough stuff. But they told us the night before they won't be doing it. We did it ourselves, and we did it so incredibly well. We also took out the head of Iraq's ISIS division, and we took out both of them by luck with Iraq. But had he lived, because he was a brilliant general, very sick man mentally, but he was a brilliant general, it may have been a different story. I don't think so. I think we would have knocked the hell out of him whether he was there or anybody else was there. But he was a brilliant general. It's one of the biggest things ever to happen in the Middle East, the killing of Soleimani. People have said it's the biggest thing to happen in 100 years because he was a dominant force. I actually think that Khomeini and all of the people in Iran were happy about it because they were afraid of him too. Over the past few weeks, the stock market and your 401ks skyrocketed upward like pretty much nobody's seen before. Oil prices are plummeting downward, and the world is a much safer place. We had to take that detour to knock out Iran. If we didn't do that, and we still have a fight. They have some capability, not much. They're not winning or anything, but they have some capability. They can still shoot. You know, they shot a drone yesterday at a big ship going into the Hormuz Strait. They shot 4 of them. We knocked down 3 of them. One of them, I guess, we didn't miss it. Nobody saw it coming. And it hit a ship and did some damage. But you can't do that stuff. But very soon we're going to be at $2.50 gasoline. You know, I was in Iowa making a speech the day before we did the attack. And again, we had to turn it around. Everything was going so well. It's like, you're doing so well. We have the best economy. Everything's great. And I brought my people into the room, my financial people and other people. I said, listen, we just set a record in the stock market. We just set a record in every single thing, including 401ks. Your 401ks, most of you have 401ks, are at the highest they've ever been, everything. But this was true 3.5 months ago, before the attack. Everything was good. We had records and everything. We were doing great. And I said, I hate to tell you, but we're going to have to take a detour. We're going to have to go to war or go to a military operation, which my people would prefer that I use as a term because war means things that they don't like. But whether you call it war or not, it is what it is. And we're going to go down to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we're going to have to hit them very hard. And don't forget, when Barack Hussein Obama did the JCPOC, if you look at that, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? He was a disaster. He was a disaster. He gave them $1.7 billion in cash, $1.7 billion in cash, and tens of billions of dollars. Gave it to Iran, thought he could buy their friendship. And it was just the opposite. They used the money and they built missiles and everything else. And I terminated the JCPOA. It was his agreement. It was the Iran nuclear deal. It was a disaster. By the way, it expired a long time ago, but I terminated it long before it expired. If I didn't do that, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon. If I didn't send the B-2 bombers in 10 months ago, they would have had a nuclear weapon. We obliterated that nuclear dust. Very important. And then you wouldn't have Israel. Israel would be gone. I know you have a lot of good fans of Israel in this room. And Israel would have been gone, and probably the Middle East would have been gone. And they could have taken a shot. We would have wiped them out pretty quick, but they could have taken a chunk of us too. But in my first term, I created the greatest economy in the history of the world. The first term was a great success and rebuilt the military, did everything. But now we're blowing it away. We're doing much better this time. And again, we did have to make that excursion. How would you like to be given the best numbers we've ever had as a country and tell people, guess what, we're going to war? And nobody in the room knew what I was talking about because it wasn't their thing. And I said, we got to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. Because you want to see problems? Let a crazy country have a nuclear weapon. You'll see problems like you've never seen before. The stock market has set 73 all-time record highs since the election. And more Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. That's pretty good. In January 2025, we inherited the worst, most dangerous, most wide open and insecure border in history. I actually think in the history of the world, I don't think it's just here. You could just walk into the country, and again, they were letting prison populations, they were taking buses and dropping them off at our border, and people coming out, murderers coming out of prison, drug dealers, the worst people. They made our criminals look like nice people. That's the only thing nice. Our criminals, for the first time, looked very nice by comparison to these people. But they dropped 25 million people over 4 years into our country. And it's the single hardest job I have, getting them out. We're getting them out pretty rapidly, but it's a very hard thing. But think of it, prison populations from the Congo, from all parts of South America, from all parts of the world, were taken in, driven through Mexico, and dropped off in our border, and they would walk right into our country. And we've quickly turned it into the strongest and most secure border in the history. We have the strongest border we've ever had now. And for the past 13 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States. 0. We have 0. And those are the numbers, they report them. And they're taken by sort of a left kind of a group. The stats, you know, if anybody did, they'd like to report them. But we have 0. And they don't even try because they know they're probably not going to get in, so they're not going to make this very dangerous march. We're saving a lot of lives. Because in those caravans, remember I named them caravans, they'd have 25,000 people, sometimes more. But they'd come up from South America and all through Mexico. They'd go all through. And they go through jungles in Colombia. Really tough jungles, too. Dangerous jungles. And women would die, and women would be raped. Remember when I said they get raped? Crime, murder, and everyone, my first speech was controversial. When I announced I was running, everyone said, "What do you mean raped?" What I said was peanuts compared to what happened. And the women would come up and they'd die, they'd be raped. A lot of people would die on those caravans. The journeys up were, they call them journeys through hell, because they had to go through jungles, they had to go through very dangerous areas. And the people that got here would just walk right into our country. We had no idea who they were. Nobody would even stand there and check. They just came in. Come on in. Come on in. This was Sleepy Joe Biden's ideology that was forced on him by much smarter people than him that wanted to destroy our country because he had no clue. But with the help of our law enforcement heroes in 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded in our country's history 125 years ago. Think of that, think of that. The year 1900, that was before my father. My father would hate me saying that because it's a long time ago, but that was before my father was born. I had a wonderful father and mother, and family. But the lowest murder rate in 125 years. Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest, most beautiful cities in the country. And just a little while ago, it was a killing machine. Think of that. A year and a half ago, Washington was a very unsafe city. Now it's one of the safest cities in the country. It's one of the most beautiful cities. Doug Burgum and myself and a whole group of people did a great job on the monuments and fountains. And the reflecting pool was so beautiful. They tried to destroy it. They cut it up with a box knife and tried to destroy it. And it's in great shape now. They're terrible. They're vandals. They've caught 6 of them, I guess, maybe more. They've got others in line to be caught. But we just inspected it. We'll fix it right after the 4th of July. Got to let the water out, just fix it. But we caught them. They would cut it, and they would grab this very expensive and very good material, totally waterproof, and they rip it. These people are sick. They ripped a scar 350 feet long through the side of the reflecting pool. These are the people we're dealing with. These are the people that want to destroy our country. But we've invested a record $1 trillion in the United States Armed Forces, and we're going this year for $1.5 trillion, all made in the USA. And something that's so exciting, the recruitment. You know, if you go back a year and a half, 2 years ago, you could not get anybody to join the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, Space Force. You couldn't get anybody to join. They had tremendous recruitment problems, but now recruitment in every branch of our military is setting records. 18 months ago, we had tremendous shortages, and we couldn't fill them up. We were never going to fill them up. That included police and firemen. We couldn't get policemen and women. We couldn't get firemen and women. Anything with a uniform, because they were ashamed of our country, because we had people that were not respected. You have to respect the president. If you don't respect the president, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. They had no respect. And now we have waiting lists. Now you can't get into the military. Literally, we went from the worst recruitment numbers ever in 1 year to the best recruitment numbers ever. And it all started on that beautiful day, November 5th, right? A thing called Election Day. And as soon as we won, before I even got to do anything, those numbers started going through the roof. People love our country again, and they have spirit. You always loved it, but you were down, you were depressed. You were not feeling too good about our country. Especially you, as people with a great religion and a fervor for Christianity and religion, you should be depressed. You should have been, but now you're riding high. But we have to be careful. We don't want to lose it. We've got to win the midterms. We've got to win the election coming up, and we're gonna be in good shape. But you have to expose them. If you don't expose them, I mean, I stand here and I expose them. Some people don't do it right. They say they're going to get free rent. Well, that's okay to say, but everyone's going to vote for them, except for a few of the people in this room. But you have to say they're going to get free rent. But in 2 years, everything is going to collapse and you're going to live in squalor. When you say that, you can beat the free rent. You can beat the fact that they're going to take your house away and give it to somebody else, which is essentially what they'd like to do. But it's happened so many times over the years with really powerful countries, and we're not going to let it happen. So we have the strongest and most powerful military anywhere in the world. I built it in my first term, using it a little bit in my second term. And we're once again using it to defend America's interests and American values. Look at what happened in Venezuela. We have a great, and by the way, we're helping Venezuela. They had a tremendous earthquake, a lot of people killed, and unbelievable, right in Caracas. And we have a lot of people over there helping. But Venezuela's been fantastic. We've had a great relationship. It was a one-day war. We hit them so hard, and one-day war. Now we've taken out millions of barrels of oil, and we've paid for the war many times over. But just as importantly, they are doing better than they've ever done. They're making more money than they've ever done. They've never made the money that they're making now. And it's really, I mean, outside of what happened last night with the terrible, that was terrible what happened. It was a big earthquake, knocked down buildings. But outside, it was really, it's a happy country again. The people are happy. They're dancing in the streets. The people running it are doing a very good job. The United States has never been stronger. We have never been wealthier. We've never been prouder to be an American. Since 1776, America's story has been a tale of freedom, overcoming oppression, good defeating evil, and faith overcoming every challenge and every foe. We had everybody was winning, and we're going to continue stronger, maybe stronger. One generation, think of it, just one generation after our war of independence, the British tried, they really tried hard to conquer America in the War of 1812. That didn't work out too well. But they failed, and the cause of freedom won, and it continues to win. The War of Survival ultimately gave America our national anthem and our Star-Spangled Banner. Many Americans know the story of Francis Scott Key writing the words of the anthem, and watched the flag under attack, and he wrote those beautiful words. But what few realize is that the very same poem also inspired our national motto. The fourth verse of the song ends in these words, and this be our motto, in God we trust. In God we trust. And as you know, the Democrats want to end that. They don't want the words, in God we trust. They want to have that stricken. They go to court. They take us to court. We're never changing that. We'll fight for that. We're not changing that. In God we trust. Better believe it. So today, on the threshold of our 250th year, this room is proof that America is still a nation that lives by those magnificent words, in God we trust. With the help of everyone here today and Americans of faith all across this land, we will continue to protect the promise of the Declaration of Independence, one of which actually is in my office, in the Oval Office. So we cherish it. We will continue to defend our values, our traditions, our faith, and our freedom. And as we enter the golden age of America, that's what we have. This is the golden age. We've never had anything like it. We have factories all over the country. We have car plants, AI plants, all sorts of plants. Our businesses are expanding. Our numbers are unbelievable. Remember that we've never had a year with so many number one stock markets. Good to have number one, because that affects everybody. That means jobs. That means success. That's good, as we said, for your 401ks. It's good for your stock investments. Everyone's doing well. We have a country that's just the hottest. It just is so hot. And I'm working really hard to make it even better. We're going to get rid of some of the flaws. We're going to make it even better. But the biggest thing we have to do is we have to stop this horrible thread of cancer that's permeating our country called communism. We have to stop it, because that's what it's about. That's what they want to do quietly. And we ask that God will continue to bless the United States of America, and God will bless the United States of America because of people like you. Thank you very much, and happy Independence Day, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Ralph Reed.
Are you ready? Ready? I am Robert It's standard is a stranger is officer stage. Yeah, hey, Mark, there's at the work office. If near as citizen, as any and we are pleased, what we back as the United States. It is about the word man. This is a man who alone, all the years that we had, give us notions from the Supreme Court and the Center. This is a man who, for decades in practice, and criminal lawyers gave us the most pure order beyond state they're at. He said all just kind of misery. It is being based on a world of He gave us some help personal. He gave us closer to leadership version of our lives. And he alone had heard the moral clarity, order, and the rebels react in Iran to make sure it will never have any more. They impeach him, they indict him, they try to imprison him, they try to outlaw it, and didn't try to go. And all failed, because God is earth this hand. And it is to save our nation. Please welcome back to the stage the belief and freedom President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
One thing Ralph, the introduction is very all the time. They both do it basically the fellowship in the beginning. And it must be no doubt that they you do this work. You get it. You also do it. And we can add a little these people. Well, we will make some more possible like in our history. They also say about it really well to this about these solutions are 2007 called the motion says we can make 9 meters recommended by say that person we 18 billion or supposed to just be getting no cost less in the middle of our machine market make queen for them to say please remember and also the hours involved with those memory sir especially that all that we very last of the Chicken Bears person. Can you scan? President of the Administration of the Same Paris room for the He's right. Remember that can. They well we will secure every for now we will having that. We also this would be you guys must be there they want to say and say oh we should see better. Do I do it I will make sure that so we remember that we have different times. What for next is American room and that is American battle those people is very important. They are important. We need to learn to American attack. I mean everyone. And I'm pleased to say that because you didn't say it, you're drunk, and it's 10 years, we know what she's done. Very, very short. It's for the issue, I didn't have the issue, we have to listen to now. More please take one take. This is a person, we have about 30 of customer greatest support, very close to the world, yes, and 50%, I don't know, there. We see that second, the men, so that's me, we're below, we're going to use the Facebook, clear ones, and first, and I was supposed to be. I must, first, I was in the US, I learned to let people that in the US, so, so, we are so if you say that once and it's just very good in the back the also we've got all things are possible all this and then press anything for the as possible to give national no should get there nation by watching what you we also have also the national story that was all about the organization very different success the last machine here and student projects and the as really for there is another people is it will take about the program was put there for when we were not officially able to back also so the level of some people that and not from what for really the in the house overs from here and so it's pretty I always some more but I got to lost like last night when I why the last options or 100 a day open house paper percent of lose I can let them down with the house of football is before team and Aaron entrance no it was not but they were absolutely with the report reading to their case all the constitution is reason with both leaders they go on and one ministry in the Lord is resolution arbitration been for example it was that say you trying very much experience I got a decision for that that is the ball we made the very right and so it's part of this already in that first ethics and I have the same things and also the same obviously the same they never told on the they never know so that's like I said about it and I hear it's great and I will see it I hope soon I also signed
We're protecting our churches and synagogues by yes, we'll see it, I hope soon. I also signed we're protecting our churches and synagogues by prosecuting mobs of radical left lunatics and agitators who try to harass and intimidate people in their places of worship not so long ago. And to help parents send their children to schools that share their values, I signed the largest expansion of school choice in the history of our country, including in Texas. And in my direction, the Department of Education issued new guidance protecting the right to prayer in public schools. That was a big thing. And these are all things that we were, they fought us very strongly, very, very strongly. Hard to believe they'd fight us on that, but we had to fight the good battle, but we won every time. We slashed federal funding for any school that pushes transgender insanity on our youth. We expanded the Mexico City policy to stop taxpayer debt. I hope soon. I also signed yes, we'll see it, I hope soon. I also signed I hope soon. I also signed we're protecting our churches and synagogues. We're protecting our churches and synagogues by prosecuting. Supposed to be, I have not seen, I cannot tell a lie, I have not seen it, but I've heard about it and I hear it's great, and I will see it, I hope soon. I also signed